Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. As always, I'm Josiah and I'm joined by Travis, Ross, and Travis. Man, how are things going? We're not going to do too much updating lest we give away the main event, but how are you doing in the last days of? How was your Thanksgiving? Let's go there. Thanksgiving just happened, and how was it?
It was good. We had my mom was in town. I had a friend that you actually know from one of our poker nights that didn't have a place to go.
Yeah.
He's separated from his wife, and she had the kids with her in her family. And so he was kind of like, I'm not really going anywhere. So we had him over, and, obviously we got, decent sized family. So it was a good time. We got my mom, grandma, who's, 70 plus 71, 72, to play Jackbox. Have you ever seen Jackbox?
Yes, I love Jackbox. Quiplash and
come on.
Yes, all of those games.
All those games. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, it's a game you can download, on your TV, your Fire Stick or whatever.
Fire Stick, Roku, PlayStation, whatever.
And then you can log in with your device, like your phone or your computer, if you want, your laptop or your iPad, and you play, and there's like word games and everybody's playing against each other. And we had my mom, coming up with these funny things and competing against us. She would get all flustered, and it was really hilarious. But we had a great time. Lots of wonderful food, wonderful pies. It was a gorgeous day in Colorado. Holy crap.
It really was.
One of the best days I can remember for a Thanksgiving. It was like, I remember when I was a kid and, we lived in Kansas. I remember a couple Thanksgivings where we would all the cousins would kind of come over to grandma's house, and we would, if it was really nice, we'd go out and play football. And I remember a couple of those days, and literally our Thanksgiving here in Colorado was just like that. It totally reminded me of those, days from yesteryear and all that. Yeah. But it was great. How was your Thanksgiving?
Man, it was good. It was pretty low key, actually. We had the Robertson get together the night before Thanksgiving, which and for those listening that don't know, the Robertson family that I married into is massive. Like my father-in-law has like 12 or 11 siblings. He's one of 11 kids, one of 12 kids or whatever. And so not all of them were there, of course, but the vast majority were. And, I had this conversation. I always can kind of commiserate to an extent with new people when nieces or nephews or cousins bring girlfriends, like, Austin, who is is Madeline's cousin. And he came over a couple nights before Thanksgiving with his girlfriend and some friends, and I just kind of had a conversation with his girlfriend, like, listen, I totally understand the immersion that happens when you meet the Robertsons and having to learn all of the names and like keep people straight. It took me a while. Don't sweat it, because she was trying really diligently just to remember. Yeah. So But yeah, the night before was good. Went to one of the family members' house up in Fort Collins. Had one of the best old fashions that I've ever had in my life. There, the host, her husband Tyler, made the old fashions, and he had this thing. I put it on my Facebook story, but he like poured the alcohol and all that kind of stuff, mixed it, and then put a little cap on it and put pellets and lit the pellets, and the smoke just kind of gathers in the drink, and he puts a lid on it and then lifts it, and it's just smoky and delicious. And I took a drink and I was like, this is seriously one of the best old fashions. And for those that don't know that are listening, Travis and I are old fashioned aficionados, maybe not that, but we love them. Yes. Connoisseurs, perhaps. You know, we've even had the old fashions on tap in Las Vegas, which was an experience. So, but then actual Thanksgiving Day, one of my nephews came over, the one that didn't get to go to Wyoming for Thanksgiving. He came over and we had some lunch and just kind of hung out, watched TV. I showed my father-in-law, Jason, NHL 21 on the PS4. So he and I did a playoff run as a Colorado Avalanche, you know, on that game, which was really fun. But it was a really nice day. I wore like a sweater in anticipation of it being a winter-ish day. Immediately I had to drive down to our shop and just get a blank t-shirt because it was too hot. Like I didn't have any change of clothes with me. So I just go snag something out of inventory. But man, yeah, all things considered was really good Thanksgiving. It was nice to have a little bit of a reprieve before heading into the madness of Q4. So
for sure. Yeah. We worked the Friday and, after Thanksgiving, of course, and just try to get a little bit caught up and kind of ready for Cyber Monday and the weekend's orders and all of that. And it was, we don't want to put the cart before the horse or any of that, but it was pretty great. So let's go ahead and just rip the Band-Aid off, get to the next segment. What do you say?
Yeah, let's go for it. And of course, this week's segment is everyone's favorite, known as the Weekly Dad Joke.
Time for the Weekly Dad Joke.
Travis.
So Josiah, let me do this one this week. Cause I was telling you earlier before we press record, even in the midst of Q4, it's very important to, have family time and have time alone with your significant other. So me and my wife had a little family time of our own last night, and we watched this really cool documentary on beavers.
Beavers.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dude, it was the best damn program I've ever seen.
All right, that's this week's Weekly Dad Joke. And if you are listening and you want to go to printondemancast.com/Facebook and actually link a real documentary about beavers, I'm somewhat intrigued as to what that program would be about. Like, I know nothing about the life cycle of beavers. When you came to me with this joke, I was halfway hoping you actually did watch a documentary on beavers, because that is one animal I know next to nothing about other than the fact that they build dams. So, nice joke this week, Travis. I like it. And thanks, now I'm going to go search out beaver documentaries. So, from that going into the next segment, this week's Point of Interest.
Oh, bro, I'm just so bored. I don't know what to do. Yo, bro, you know what you need? Some point of interest. Yeah. Radical. Tip top. Now that's dank.
So, Travis, we were going through kind of searching. You and I both have alerts on for print on demand, right? So we get, emails to our Gmail accounts, whatever, saying, hey, print on demand news, and you filter through it. And what would you say? I mean, probably there's a handful of links that are decent, and the rest of them just really don't have anything to do with anything that's relevant, really.
Exactly.
But I stumbled upon this link here where talking about the world's first 3D printed eye, fully 3D printed prosthetic eye, and a patient actually received this prosthetic eye, and I believe it's in London. So just a little bit from the article here, a patient has been fitted with a highly realistic 3D printed prosthetic eye for the first time ever. Fraunhofer which sounds more German than it does English, technology has announced patient Steve Verz received the high-tech version as a permanent replacement for his traditional prosthetic eye. So basically what they do is they do kind of like a non-invasive scan of the eye socket, and it feeds it directly to this print-on-demand 3D printer that puts an eye out, but not like the Red Ryder BB gun, a legitimately real eye out. Plug for the Christmas Story. Go watch it. 'Tis the season. But it makes this eye on this 3D printer that's hyper realistic rather, and fits right in the socket. So I was intrigued because we talk about all the time the diversity and the new uses for print on demand. And I've heard of, organs and stuff. So organs I'm a little bit more sketched about, like a 3D heart. Like I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot more needed than just the 3D mold of a heart to make it work. But a prosthetic eye seems like a good launching off point, right?
Right. Prosthesis, is quite a bit different than an actual working organ, So, but yeah, it's very cool. I'm not 100% sure what the, like the main difference. I don't know a lot about prosthesis, and, I don't know about prosthetic eyes, and like, why would a print on demand one like be better or take less time, or, I'm assuming, before they had to hand paint them, maybe, the original prosthetic eyes. I don't know, but it's a cool, again, it's definitely interesting how people are utilizing print on demand technologies, and 3D printing is definitely a print on demand technology, even if it takes, if you've ever seen a 3D printer, it does take a while. However, just like everything else, in technology, it's going to get faster and faster and faster. And who knows how long it'll actually take somebody to, get a prosthetic eye or whatever they need in the medical field. It's just interesting that print on demand is being used in the medical field now. That's really the most interesting thing to me.
Yeah, that's crazy. I took a little screen grab here of the video that's linked so this is the patient, Steve Verz. And as you can see, his right eye is the one that is 3D printed and prosthetic. So, I mean, it is a huge advancement, not only in the print on demand game, but just medically to have that ability to produce something so quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, those of you who are just listening, I mean, the guy looks, you can't tell, maybe you could tell a little bit if you really knew what to look for, but I mean, if you just pass this guy on the street, you'd have no clue. And apparently, like they were saying, I think it did take a lot less time than a typical kind of, a normal scenario where somebody would need
process,
a prosthetic eye. The process to do all of the things that you need, and then send it off to wherever it gets done and all of that. I think it was much quicker, but he was very, very happy with it. At least that's what the article was saying, and the video as well.
Which is what, of course, matters the most, is that he's satisfied with it. And we just thought that was really interesting, and it's going to be really cool to see how print on demand in the medical field continues to advance. So I think this is a cool kind of landmark case for the beginning of that. So that is this week's point of interest. All right, Travis. So we've almost kind of put the cart in front of the horse, rather, not the heart in front of the course, which I don't know what that means. But we wanted to talk about for the main event.
It's about time for the thing you've been waiting for, the main event.
We wanted to talk about just a little Q4 update. Things are crazy, and you and I have alluded to that before. Where it's kind of like, man, we have so many irons in the fire, and so what do we want to talk about on the podcast? What do we want to cover? And it kind of just came to this thing of like, why don't we just kind of share what Q4 looks like so far, since that's kind of what we've been immersed in, it's what we're living through, would be the easiest thing to just kind of share. So with that being said, man, update us a little bit on how things are going there for Q4.
Yeah, I mean, originally we had an interview planned, and I'm not going to say who it's with, but I think she's in the other room at your place. So,
objective. I mean,
spoiler alert.
In my opinion, the hottest guest we've ever had. But she said, she did say that she was ready to go Sunday, but we had to scrap Sunday because you were taking your daughter back to college Sunday night. So she did say that she wants to come on next week. So at least it's an incremental thing. At the very beginning, she was like, absolutely not. Am I going on your podcast? Now it's like, I'll do it. And then we had to scrap, and now she's like, okay, I'll go on next week. So she's at least willing to.
Right.
So, and I guess I'm going to write out a contract. I don't really do that in marriage, but I just bind her to have to come on next week. So, but yeah, so originally we did have an interview, but that kind of got scrapped. So that kind of left us searching for something to talk about. Yeah.
And, I mean, when you've been doing a podcast for a year, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things. And so, and it does take a little bit of effort to kind of come up with a list and, an outline and all of that and how you're going to move from point to point. And so, in the effort of, or, in the interest of like getting to go home before 8:00,
yes,
in the middle of Q4, we just decided, hey, let's just talk about, how things are going. So that's the whole like reason. But I would say things are going pretty good. I was anticipating an increase of orders compared to last year. And I was looking through some of our orders, and it doesn't seem as though there's much of an increase, at least for us internally. I know some of our clients have had increases, but they're not as massive as I thought. I was anticipating like 25 to 30%. And I think overall, we're probably only seeing, 5 to 10, across most of our clients, which I was seeing an increase before Q4 or before, this last weekend. So it's really interesting. I have noticed that Amazon sales are much higher, or they have increased, but at the same time, our Walmart sales have fallen off. And I don't really have, and it's about like 33% boost in, year over year in Amazon, 33% like lower in Walmart, which is strange. I will say we have a lot more products on Amazon, but and we do advertise there. We don't advertise on Walmart yet. So maybe there's something to that. And we also have a lot more FBA products available in Amazon. So, you kind of take all of those different things and put them all in a bowl and try to mix them up and try to make some sense out of it. It can be kind of confusing, but overall, like I said, we're probably seeing a 10% increase over what we were doing, maybe closer to 15 with our extra clients that we've also added that we didn't have last year. But we have a lot of workers in the shop right now. And so we're keeping up, which I'm very happy for. We're actually on top of things. I mean, we're not, it's not same day shipping or anything, but we're not falling behind yet, which is a small victory. I don't know.
Yes.
No. How are you guys doing? I mean, I'm sure you can kind of, you can feel me there. It's about the falling behind thing in Q4.
Yes. I mean, I agree. I think we've seen, we've had a couple customers. I think we're just now starting to see kind of an increase after the Thanksgiving holiday. Of course, Black Friday always has a lot to do with those sales. Cyber Monday does have a lot to do with the increase. But it's kind of been a slow ramp up to where Amazon, Walmart, Etsy of our own was increasing in volume. Wayfair is another platform that we sell on that was increasing in volume. And Wayfair, like typically only does, a week, maybe like 10 orders or so, just throughout the whole week. Last year, I don't remember if we were on Wayfair last year, to be quite honest with you. So I think this might be the first Q4 on that platform, but it has, I mean, we're moving, 20 orders or so a day on there, or every other day, because I think we batch them in, because it's like 2-day shipping, 3-day shipping, so it has to be next day. Walmart has really increased over the last week, and Amazon has as well. 47 orders in a day type stuff on Walmart and on Amazon. So that number starts to climb, and I'm sure we're only going to see it climb faster. I do think that Walmart has year to year, I think we're in the same spot you are, to where it's not as much of an increase as we had wanted or hopefully anticipated initially. But again, I think we talked about it on the last podcast, or maybe two, where you kind of forget what Q4 feels like after Q4 is over, right? So you have the idea and the memories of being busy, but then when you're in the thick of it, you're like, man, what the freak is going on? Oh, it's Q4. Okay. So that's why I feel stressed. And that's why we have our guys working till 9:00 tonight to keep up on stuff. The client that I always reference on here sold $16,000 in a day on Black Friday, and it hasn't stopped. Right. So again, trying not to get behind, because especially in Q4, if you get behind on some things, if you put things off until maybe tomorrow, you don't know what this 12-hour period has in store for you. Sure. So you could wake up in the morning and there's 300 more orders, and you're like, oh crap. Well, now I'm behind the eight ball because I wanted to maybe just put these handful of orders off. Right. So, and we are the same way. We have way more people working for us this year, which is scary, but also for us, for me anyway, a huge thank you, Jesus, because given the volume, it just can't be, us four no more type vibe where it's we're just trying to keep the candles burning at both ends. But now we have, I would probably say, 5 or 6 guys working between mugs and DTG and shipping, and we cross train everyone on everything, or for the most part. So if they're not needed in DTG, they can go help ship. If they can go help make mugs, or they can put the transfers on the sleeves. And so everyone kind of is cross trained on every job, which is nice, because it helps kind of fill gaps. So but yeah, now that our 3070 is fixed, we're up and running and ready to go.
Yeah. It's been a whole new deal with, having the 3070 and the 2100 with a conveyor dryer. That's really changed a lot of things for us. We did start a new DTG girl yesterday, actually. Nice. So Cyber Monday she started. She had trained one other day, and yesterday was her official start date.
Into the fire.
Yeah, baptism by fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
But luckily she has some, because we have all these temps, she has somebody to pre-treat for her and package for her. So all she's just
all she's doing is just, that's the thing. And with that 3070, especially when we got it, I quickly realized that you almost have to have 2 people running to make it efficient, because that printer is so fast for someone to pre-treat and print and pull it off the dryer and fold it and blah, blah, blah. It just takes way too much time. Right. Yep. Totally. One thing I will share as an update that we've kind of figured out in the last 24 hours for us, because we have that conveyor dryer, and this is, mostly for you, because anyone out there that is doing their own production, pro tip, that has a dryer. So just an update. So we were doing hoodies, right? And I told you we found those hoodies that are really printing really well. But the DTG box on those things, man, were just atrocious. Yeah. Terrible.
Tell the listeners what a DTG box is, if they
so DTG box is, it's the dreaded DTG box. So basically it's a really faint, but in best case scenario, really faint outline of a box that is the shape of the heat press. And it's just because of the heat press that it's there. The pre-treat and the heat press kind of leave this box, and typically it goes away after the first wash. And you don't really have to worry about it as a customer, but it's there and it's noticeable, especially if you know what you're looking for. It's noticeable. And these particular hoodies were really bad. And the shirts were also really bad. We have to wipe the top platen of the heat press every time before we press a shirt, because they're old. They're as old as the business is, and so they've gotten dirty, and you can wash them off. And it just kind of was this process of like, dude, this sucks, because everything has a box on it, faint or otherwise, and I hate it. So we had this idea where we pre-treated the hoodie, ran it through the dryer, and then pressed it for 5 seconds before we printed it. There's no box, and it's vibrant, and then you just send it back through the dryer.
Hallelujah.
Done. So now we've changed our process a little bit, where we'll pull a batch, pre-treat it, and run it through the dryer, and then take it to printing, and they'll print it and just crank it out. And then whoever's working with that person will take it, fold it. With this particular client, we have shelves of his designs, so we can just kind of pick and pack when it comes time to ship with the order summaries. So they fold it, take it out of the dryer, sleeve on it, fold it, put it away. And when a batch is done, it's done. So it's a little bit more front heavy, because we're having to sit there and pre-treat, and you wait for 1 minute and 40 seconds for the thing to drop in the basket, and then you put it away, or whatever the time is. But it has solved the DTG box problem, which is very exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we did that with another local order we had for like 100 hoodies, and because we used the large platen on the back of the hoodie, and we just weren't really we weren't confident that that we were going to be able to line up the box exactly because the large platen is about the same size as your actual heat press. And so we were actually spraying in a little extra pre-treat around and spreading it all around, so we could make sure that the ink would go on a pre-treated part of the garment. And we sent all those through before, and then, like you said, then we pressed them 5 seconds right before we printed them. And man, they looked freaking amazing. There's massive print too on the back of these hoodies, and then they were embroidered on the front. They looked really, really cool. But yeah, so I totally get that. I'm that's a great pro tip if you do have a conveyor dryer. But yeah, that has really sped up our process. Our busiest department really is our sublimation department. So it's our mugs, our drinkware, because we sell a crap ton of it. That's our majority seller of my stuff, or our my company stuff. And then my my kind of big fish, or my big client, he sells a crap ton of it too. Not quite as much as us, but because he sells a lot of other things too. But he's still, between the two of those things, he sells a lot of different things. So water bottles and tumblers and, what are they called? Travel mugs and, shot glasses and things like that. So a lot of different types of things that need different types of transfers. And if you remember about sublimation, you can go back and listen to one of our older episodes on it, but basically you're taking a transfer and through heat and pressure with like a mug press, or in some cases you can use a conveyor oven. If you have a silicone wrap, you can keep that pressure on, and then the oven has the heat. But either way, you need this transfer. And so depending on what kind of substrate you're putting it on, and substrate's just basically a big word for the thing you're cooking
product.
The blank product, whichever substrate you're using depends, it's going to basically vary the size of your transfer. And it's not really a transfer. I mean, I guess it is. I guess that's what we'll call it. Let's just call it a transfer, Josiah. What do you think?
It works. So I'll co-sign it.
Okay, cool.
Transfer.
Good. We're done then.
Right. So what do you anticipate, in the coming month of December? What are you hoping to see as far as, of course, volume wise, we always want increase, but what are you kind of feeling for the next month, the last month of Q4?
Yeah. So a couple things. One, as FBA stock decreases, because I can't ship any more FBA in, because all of my machines are busy doing not FBA orders, just merchant fulfilled orders. So I don't have the time to do them. and B, even if I could, Amazon wouldn't be able to get them checked in and to the place where they were, in time to where they could actually sell them for the Christmas rush. So we've kind of turned off the FBA, or at least sending in FBA. So for one, as FBA products decrease in the warehouse and certain, SKUs sell out, that's going to just by default increase our merchant fulfilled sales, because instead of buying an FBA product, they have to buy, a merchant fulfilled product. And then the other thing I'll say is the busiest time for typically, at least in my recent memory, for sales is that December 10th through December 20th, whichever week that is, wherever that fits in, whenever you're actually manufacturing, and that, the 5 days in that 10-day space that, are back to back is pretty freaking nuts. And so I'm anticipating that week bleeding over until that final week right before Christmas. And we're just trying to get stuff out to where, people can still get it, in time for Christmas.
Right.
But that's kind of, I'm basing that assumption on past Q4s and, just what I've seen in the past. And the only thing I think may throw a wrench in that plan is Amazon has started to expand, or they've started to artificially inflate the shipping times on their site. And they're doing that because shipping is, they basically started it last year when it was absolutely freaking crazy. And they've basically just not stopped. And so, they've given more time so if you go to a product page and if you order today, it's showing that, if you order it from me, it's going to not show up until December 10th. Well, it's November 30th and we'll get the product, kind of in line tomorrow. It'll probably go out by the end of the week. Probably, Thursday, most likely Thursday, possibly Friday. But our handling time says one thing, says 2 or 3 days or whatever. Right. And then they're adding some extra days to the shipping time. And so they're saying they won't get there till the 10th, when realistically it could get there, by the 7th, by the 7th or 8th. So that does make me wonder what's going to happen on, December 15th or December 16th. Right. Are they going to say this is going to arrive after Christmas, and then the
and then just kind of fall off? Yeah.
So I don't know. We're going to have to play with our shipping settings and kind of see what, but those are some of the observations that I've had. And I've talked to Uncle Mike, who's a frequent guest on our show. And, he's seeing the same types of things across some of the counts that he manages.
Yeah. That's that 10th to the 20th, which this year will fall. It's a Friday. The 10th is a Friday and the 20th is a Monday. So there's like a full week, right? Like you said, the 5 days in that 10. Well, let's see.
That's going to be nuts.
7 days of the 10 days are business days. And
then you come back on the 20th and you have those, the Saturday and the Sunday, that 20th is going to be nuts, even though a lot of those things may not actually make it for Christmas, it's still going to be nuts. That 20th.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the sweet spot, because that's when people are trying to get it to them it'll arrive by Christmas if I order on the 15th, 13th, whatever. And we've told all of our clients, off of Amazon, if you want your people to get something by Christmas, they have to order it before the 13th or the 14th. Like after that, we can't really promise anything. Not just because necessarily, handling time, but again, the carriers out there, USPS, UPS, FedEx, whatever you use, are crazy this time of year. And so there's kind of like trying to mitigate stuff that's outside of your control by allowing another more buffer, which is probably more what Amazon is doing to that point as well. It's kind of out of their control to a certain extent. So, but they have their own delivery people or trucks, vans now. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, right? I know UPS is still working with Amazon. Our UPS driver, Kevin, he's awesome. But he's saying, he pulled up the other day and his truck he came to pick stuff up and his truck was like packed. Like,
Yeah.
packed. And I was like, man, you look like you're busy. He's like, yeah, FedEx dropped the Amazon. Like, Amazon no longer works for FedEx, but works with them, but they work with us. And so we have to supplement. I mean, they don't have enough trucks. You got a guy pull up today in a U-Haul and load stuff in and take them out. So it's crazy, man. Q4 is getting wilder and wilder every year. So, Travis, anything else, man, that we should touch on? I know it's getting later, and you and I both are deprived of sleep of all sorts. So, but anything else you kind of want to touch on for the Q4 update?
I'll say one last thing. If you do your own fulfillment, and you have delivery drivers, you have UPS, you have FedEx, people that come, post office people, think about them for Christmas. They are having a crazy Q4 too. And, little tip or something,
totally.
$20 bill, $50 bill, I had an awesome guy that used to, when I worked out of our house, that worked for UPS, and he would pick up all my stuff. And every year I would get him, like a 12-pack of beer and like a card with like a $20 bill in it, just cause he was freaking awesome. And, so yeah, just think about those guys. If you have a bunch of those people, that would mean a lot to them, I think, because they're working just as hard as we are right now.
Yeah. And they're working hard, and they're pretty underappreciated. You know what I mean? Right. It's kind of a thankless job. Like, people just, get my stuff to me. It's your job, but there's a grind and there's a hustle. Loading trucks at 5:30 in the morning or 4 in the morning and starting your day that early. So, we've done that before. We usually give a gift card of some sort to our guy. Yeah. And for people that do that, and people that also, if you're using VAs at all for Christmas, give them a Christmas. I mean, it means it goes so far with them. Go ahead.
I'll say one more thing about just on that whole thing. If you have a Filipino VA,
yes,
this is actually the 13th month. So December is, and in their culture, a lot of their employers in the Philippines will actually pay a 13th month. In other words, you pay double in December. So if normally they make, $500 in the month of December, they're going to make $1,000 this month. And so that's something that we've always done for our Filipino VAs, because they are freaking amazing and we want them to love working for us. And we try to do as much as we possibly can to keep them, because again, we've talked about it on the podcast. We benefit because we pay them, less than what we would have to pay somebody that was here every day. They benefit because they get to work from home and have a wage that is vastly superior to places that they could work, in country as well. And there's a prestige when they work for, a U.S. company or a European company or an offshore company. There's a prestige. They enjoy it, and we love our Filipino VA. So just consider paying them that 13th month, which is basically just whatever they made, and just double
it. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So those are some closing pro tips for you guys. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning into the Print on Demand cast. We thank you guys for coming back each and every week and listening to the dad jokes and the bad jokes and the entertainment and the occasional education, which happens mostly when we have guests on. So we're going to try and get more of those, because they are the true experts in their given fields of expertise. But thank you guys so much for joining. As always, printondemandcast.com/Facebook is where you can go to get in on the conversation. Let us know how your Q4 is going. Post updates, post videos, how crazy things are, what you're working on, what you do to kind of, make your employees feel special, your VAs, whoever that is, whatever that looks like. Let us know, and we want to hear from you. Again, printondemandcast.com/Facebook. And as always, I say this all the time, if social media isn't your bag, I completely understand that. And I don't blame you a bit. So info@printondemandcast.com is also a way you can reach out to Travis and I, and we'll be happy to hear from you there as well. As always, wherever there are podcasts, the PODcast is there for you. So I'm talking Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Anchor, I'm sure by next week there'll be a new one that's out there that has podcasts. You know what I'm So we'll figure it out. But if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, do us a favor, leave a 5-star review. Let us know what you think of the show. We'll shout you out. We'll bring attention to it. We'll post it in the group because we really do appreciate your guys' feedback, and we look for that. So again, if you're listening on Apple, leave a 5-star review. I don't think that you can leave reviews on any other of the platforms, that as far as I know. So please do so. I know on Spotify you can't, because I've tried. You can't. I mean, I haven't tried to give us our own review, but I'm going to go create a bot account and I will go give us our own review, and no one will know the difference. Yeah, thank you guys so very much. And Travis, anything else before we put a bow on this? No pun intended, because it's the holiday season.
No, just hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. We're thankful for you, and appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. So we'll see you next week right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.
The skeleton
right.
ran out of shampoo in the shower. All right. Here we go. We're already recording. All of this is on it. It's all of it. Okay.